Okay, so you know that feeling when you're lying in bed at 2:30 a.m. and suddenly your brain decides right now is the perfect time to remember that awkward thing you said in 7th grade? When you craft the perfect comeback to an argument 3 days after the argument happened? Or when you create an entire fictional scenario in your head about how your life would be different if you'd just chosen the other checkout line at the grocery store? Yeah, that's not happening in any other species. A chimpanzee has never laid awake at night wondering if the other chimps think he's annoying. A dolphin has never composed an imaginary speech for when she finally tells off that one dolphin who always gets the best fish. This ability to obsessively live inside our own heads, creating problems that don't exist and solving problems that will never happen, that's a very recent bug in the human operating system. Or maybe it's a feature. We're still not sure. But here's the thing. For over 1 million years, our ancestors didn't have this problem. They were smart. They had fire, tools, language, but they didn't do this. So what changed? When did we go from just another intelligent ape to the species that writes fan fiction about their own lives? Meet Homo erectus. No, seriously, before you make the obvious joke about the name, just know that paleontologists in the 1800s had no idea what they were setting up for middle school biology teachers. But I digress. Homo erectus was the actual ruler of this planet for 1.5 million years. To put that in perspective, modern humans, Homo sapiens, that's us, have only been around for about 300,000 years. We're basically the new kids on the evolutionary block. Erectus had 5 times our track record. And they were legitimately impressive. They spread from Africa to Asia to Europe. They mastered fire, which, if you've ever tried to start a campfire with wet wood, you know is actual sorcery. They crafted sophisticated stone tools. They lived in complex social groups. They thrived. But here's where it gets weird. For over 1 million years, they made the exact same tool. I'm talking about the Herculean handaxe. Beautiful piece of work. Symmetrical, sharp, multi-purpose. The Stone Age equivalent of duct tape and WD-40 combined first shows up in the archaeological record about 1.7 million years ago, and then they just kept making it, the exact same design, for 1 million years. Imagine that. Imagine your great-great-great-grandmother going back 40,000 generations, making the exact same iPhone model you're using today. No upgrades, no new features. Just iOS 1.0 forever. Hey Grok, should we maybe add a second blade to this thing? Why? This rock sharp. This rock work. Why fix? And here's the kicker. They weren't stupid. Their brains were about 900 to 1,100 cubic centimeters. Ours are around 1,350. That's not a massive difference. They could think, they could plan, they could cooperate. They just couldn't think about things that didn't exist yet. They were living in a world where the question, what if we tried it this way instead, just never came up. No artistic expression, no cave paintings of their feelings, no decorative jewelry, no, I wonder what's on the other side of that mountain just for fun, just survival, efficiency, repetition. For 1.5 million years, Homo erectus was the definition of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And honestly, it worked. They were one of the most successful species in human evolutionary history. But then, something happened. Around 300,000 years ago, a new player entered the game, Homo sapiens, anatomically modern humans, us. For a long time, we didn't look that different from Erectus. Similar tools, similar lifestyle. We coexisted with them for tens of thousands of years in parts of Asia, probably without much fanfare. But then, something shifted. Around 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, a blink in evolutionary time, Sapiens culture exploded. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found engraved ochre pieces with abstract geometric patterns, shell beads, bone tools with intricate designs, evidence of symbolic thought, personal identity, art, not survival tools, cultural objects, things that mean something. And this wasn't isolated. Across Africa, during the Middle Stone Age, you start seeing heat-treated stone, a technique that requires planning and teaching, pigments for body decoration, regionally distinct tool styles suggesting group identities. Then, by 50,000 years ago, when sapiens reached Europe and Australia, the floodgates opened. Cave paintings, figurative art, carved figurines, musical instruments made from bone, elaborate burial rituals, long-distance trade networks, a carved shell from the coast found 500 kilometers inland, obsidian tools moved across mountain ranges. This is what paleoanthropologists call behavioral modernity, the full human package. And it appeared fast. Now, if you're thinking, wait, so we just woke up one day and started making flutes? Well, sort of. And if you want to see where this is going, you might want to hit that like button now, because this gets weird. I promise, subscribing won't make you smarter, but it might make you feel smarter, which is honestly half the battle. So, what was the difference? Why did sapiens suddenly start acting like, well, like us, while Erectus stayed locked in the same patterns for 1,000,000 years? Here's where it gets interesting. The popular theory, championed by historian Yuval Noah Harari and supported by evolutionary psychologists, is that sapiens developed something Erectus never had: the ability to believe in things that don't exist. Shared fictions, imagined realities, stories. This sounds trivial. It's not. Think about it. A lion is real. You can see it, touch it, run from it. Homo erectus understood lions. They had strategies: climb a tree, throw rocks, move in groups, concrete, physical responses to concrete, physical threats. But what about a god? A god is not real in the physical sense. You can't touch it. You can't see it. It exists only in the shared belief of a group. And yet, belief in that God could unite 10,000 people who've never met each other, get them to build a temple, follow a leader, sacrifice their resources for a collective cause. Erectus lived in the physical world. Sapiens learned to live in two worlds: the physical world and the world of ideas. This is the cognitive revolution, the moment we became creatures who didn't just react to reality, but who could construct reality. Language probably played a role. Some researchers believe sapiens developed more complex, recursive syntax, language that could embed ideas within ideas, talk about the past and future, convey hypothetical scenarios. What if we ambush the herd there instead of here? The FOXP2 gene, implicated in speech and language, shows human-specific changes. Neanderthals and Denisovans had versions of it, but ours is slightly different, and genomic data suggests those differences mattered. Brain structure shifted too. Modern human skulls are more globular, reflecting changes in parietal and cerebellar regions, areas involved in integration, attention, and social cognition. Our brains aren't just bigger, they're wired differently. Enhanced connectivity, longer developmental windows, more flexible neural networks. Erectus had a sophisticated brain, but it was a brain built for the here and now. Sapiens had a brain built for everywhere and every when. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine two groups, one Homo erectus band, one Homo sapiens tribe. Both encounter a lion. The erectus group reacts. They see the danger. Adrenaline spikes. Someone shouts. They grab stones, climb trees, form a defensive circle. They remember this spot is dangerous and avoid it next time. Effective, smart, survival. But that's where it ends. Now the sapiens group. They also react. Hearts pounding, muscles tensing. But then they do something else. They story it. Around the fire that night, someone tells the tale. The lion with the torn ear came from the east just as the sun god hid his face. The lion becomes a character. The encounter becomes a myth, a lesson, a warning, a piece of cultural DNA passed to children who weren't even there. The shaman paints the lion on the cave wall. It's no longer just a predator, it's a symbol, a totem. Maybe it represents courage, maybe it's a spirit guardian, maybe killing one makes you a man. Next season, when the tribe plans their route, they don't just avoid the lion's territory. They create a strategy, coordinate scouts, set traps, plan an ambush 6 months in advance. They trade lion claws with a neighboring tribe 200 kilometers away, building alliances through symbolic exchange. One is reaction, the other is imagination. And this difference, this ability to imagine, to believe, to cooperate around invisible ideas, it didn't just change how we hunted, it changed everything. But we're not done yet, because there's a darker side to this story. If you want to see how this cognitive superpower also became our greatest vulnerability, you'll want to stick around. And hey, maybe subscribe, because this series is just getting started. So what happened to Homo erectus? They vanished. By about 100,000 years ago, they were gone. The last populations clinging to existence in Java, Indonesia, disappeared without a trace. And it wasn't because they were weak. Remember, they lasted 1.5 million years. They survived ice ages, predators, volcanic eruptions. They were survivors. But Sapiens had a weapon they couldn't match: scalable cooperation. Erectus could work together in small groups, maybe 30, 50 individuals, people they knew, people they could trust through direct interaction. Sapiens could cooperate in the thousands through shared myths, shared gods, shared laws, shared enemies. You can't outcompete that. When resources got scarce, Sapiens could organize migrations, establish trade routes, share knowledge across hundreds of kilometers. Erectus bands were isolated, insular, effective, but limited. The cognitive revolution wasn't just about being smarter. It was about being connected in ways that transcended biology. And here's the haunting part: we probably killed them. Not always with violence, though maybe sometimes, but through competition. We out-hunted them, out-adapted them, out-imagined them. So why does this matter today? Because that same cognitive revolution, that ability to live inside imagined realities, is still running your life. Every religion, every nation, every corporation, every currency, these are shared fictions. They're real because we agree they're real. A dollar bill is worthless paper, but we believe in it, so it has power. The border between countries is an imaginary line, but we believe in it, so people die defending it. Your job title, your social status, your identity. These are stories you've agreed to live inside. And just like our ancestors, we're capable of incredible cooperation when we share the same story. We build cities, cure diseases, send robots to Mars. But we're also capable of incredible division when our stories clash. We still see the world in tribes. We still fear outsiders. We still create in-groups and out-groups based on invisible lines we've drawn in our minds. The same brain that painted gods on cave walls now paints enemies on Twitter. The same brain that coordinated mammoth hunts now coordinates global supply chains. The same brain that imagined spirits in the thunder now imagines meaning in the chaos. We became human the day we learned to believe in things we couldn't see. That's the gift. And the curse. Homo erectus lived for 1.5 million years in balance with the physical world. We've been here for a fraction of that time, and we've already reshaped the planet, because we don't just live in the world. We live in the world we imagine. The question is, what world are we imagining next? If you want to explore more about how our ancient minds shape our modern lives, check out the next video on why we're so obsessed with stories. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Sapien, because the human story is just getting started.